One of the biggest problems we face today is terrorists attacking civilians. Almost daily in the news, we hear about attacks killing and wounding people. Often, it is not reported until much later, if at all, that the attacks are being performed by terrorists. Governments and the media in the West don't want to attribute these attacks to terrorism unless it's absolutely inescapable, because they don't want their populations to panic or their immigration policies to come under question. This problem has been a top priority of just about everyone for years. There's been much written and much strategized about how to solve this problem. In spite of all the brainstorming and hand-wringing, according to the Investigative Project on Terrorism, between the years 2011 to 2015, the number of civilian deaths due to terrorism increased 800%. So it's very important for us to figure out exactly what the problem is and how to stop it. How do people become terrorists? It's important to remember that there are two things a person has to learn to become a terrorist. Those things are how to kill people, but more importantly, why to kill people. The how to kill people is like military training. It's been widely reported that magazines and online tutorials exist on how to make bombs and effective ways to target crowds, but that doesn't explain why an increasing number of people seem to want to carry out these attacks. So the question becomes, how do we fight this way of thinking that makes people want to commit these atrocities? Where does this ideology come from? The answer is surprisingly easy, and that answer is one person, Anwar al-Awlaki. He does not have the name recognition of Sheikh Mohammed or Osama bin Laden, but he is called the father of internet terrorism. He was the first person to be targeted by a drone strike by a president and was killed in Yemen in 2011 on the second attack President Obama ordered on him. But to understand what a big impact he has on the current state of terrorism, a little background on Awlaki is in order. He was born in the U.S. in 1971 in New Mexico, while his father was in the U.S. completing a degree in agricultural economics. At the age of 7, al-Awlaki returned with his family to Yemen, and his father became an important government official, the agricultural secretary for Yemen. From the age of 7 to 20, al-Awlaki intensively studied Islam, and he came back in the U.S. For college, and he got a degree at the Colorado State University in engineering and a master's degree in education from San Diego State. So in addition to his extensive background in terrorist philosophy, he could be said to have been highly intelligent and also to have understood extensively the theories of how people learn and how to teach. He was a respected imam in the United States and held positions at the Denver Islamic Society and at mosques in Fort Collins and San Diego. Two people who he mentored in San Diego later became 9/11 hijackers. He also was a role model for Omar Abdul Rahman, who was arrested for plotting to blow up landmarks in New York City. After 9/11, he left the U.S. for the U.K., where he taught a popular series of lectures that were well attended by British youth. In 2004, he returned to Yemen, and he was arrested 2 years later for plotting to kidnap a U.S. military attaché. He was detained for 18 months and questioned extensively by the FBI during his incarceration. After his release from prison back to Yemen, he became openly radical in his teachings. He taught his followers that they had two paths, only two paths, that they had to follow: jihad or hijrah, which he explained as either coming to join the battles in the Middle East or being a soldier where they already are. While he was originally a top member of Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, his teachings have been embraced by ISIS, Al-Shabaab, Hezbollah, the Taliban, Boko Haram, Al-Qaeda, and many others. His followers include John Walker Lynn, the American Taliban, Major Abdel Hussain, the Fort Hood shooter, who killed and wounded over 40 at Fort Hood, Texas, November 2009. Hisib Hussain and Mohammed Khan, who were suicide bombers in the July 7th, 2005 London bombings, which killed or wounded over 750. Jamal Islamiyah, who is thought to have been responsible for the July 11, 2006 Mumbai train accident which killed or injured over 900. Abdul Mohammed, responsible for the 2009 Little Rock, Arkansas recruitment office attack. Tamerlan and Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, the Boston bombers who killed or wounded over 215 on April 15, 2013. Sharif and Syed Kolachi, who killed or wounded 39 in January 2015 outside of Paris, France, in the Charlie Hebdo attacks. Elton Simpson and Naidar Sufi, who attempted to kill people in Garland, Texas in May 2015 in the Mohammed drawing attack. Mohammed Yusuf Abdul Azizi, who in July of 2015 killed or wounded over 9 at the Chattanooga, Tennessee military base attack. Abdel, Abaaoud, and Salah Abdeslam, who are the masterminds of the Paris attacks in November 2015 that killed or wounded over 500. Umar Abdul Muttalib, or the underwear bomber, who tried to blow up a plane on Christmas of 2009. Rizwan Farouk and Tashim Malik, the San Bernardino attackers, who in December of 2015 killed or wounded 36 in San Bernardino, California. Osama Karim and Mohammed Abrini, who were behind the Brussels airport bombing in March of 2016, where 335 were killed or wounded. Omar Mateen, who killed or wounded over 100 in March 2016 with a shooting at the Pulse nightclub near Orlando, Florida. Colleen LaRose, also known as Jihad Jane, who was arrested for organizing and recruiting for terror plots, was an avid follower of al-Awlaki as well. The copier and computer plane bombs were inspired by al-Awlaki. So, al-Awlaki was a brilliant and articulate educator, and he was extremely well versed in American culture, English, and terrorist ideology. He's been pivotal to terrorist attacks and deaths in the U.S. and Europe. He was and is very good at providing people with reasons and the logic behind committing terrorist attacks. Showtime recently had a very good profile of Anwar al-Awlaki entitled American Jihad, which came out in March of 2017. It explained that videos of al-Awlaki are still widely available, and it takes about 10 months for someone to go from completely normal to a terrorist by watching these videos. A simple YouTube search shows hundreds of his videos are easily accessible to anyone who has use of an internet connection and a computer. Europe and the US could totally stop immigration as long as these videos are available and still be at risk for terrorist attacks. Can anything be done? I'm an expert in cybersecurity, and I can say that these videos can be stopped, just like internet companies ban child pornography using a technology called digital DNA. A signature could be extracted from these videos, and with this, they could be detected and stopped, just like a virus. The internet companies, I remind you, didn't voluntarily ban child pornography. It took legislation and severe penalties to get them to do so. But when the consequences were such, all the internet companies rapidly complied. These child pornography laws initially faced some of the same objections as what I'm proposing, like it might be a violation of freedom of speech or freedom of expression. However, these objections were overcome because it was determined that child pornography is harmful to children. Like child pornography, terrorism is harmful to children and indiscriminately kills children and their parents and caregivers. What about freedom of religion? Freedom of speech and freedom of religion stops where the other person's nose begins. You have the freedom to wave around your arm, but your freedom stops when it hurts other people around you. Freedom of speech and freedom of religion are the same thing. They stop where people start being hurt, like yelling fire in a crowded theater. I advocate using the child pornography laws as a template to ban terrorist videos by al-Awlaki. Is that all that needs to be done? I also think that some videos exposing al-Awlaki's errors should be produced to counteract his teachings that people have already been exposed to. Will this be an end to terrorism? No, but it would be very, very easy to implement, and it would be an excellent start.